President Mike Khader. The council president is going to give us an update on what's going on. This thing is affecting all of us, not just us as a person, but also the elected officials, because they are also individuals with family, children, and they are affected by this crisis. So let's welcome Mike Khader.
Okay. Hello, Ben. Hello, everyone. Ben, thank you for this invitation and this opportunity. How are you doing?
I'm okay. Mike, you are the council president, but you are also a citizen of Yonkers. So tell us, how has this thing affected you personally?
Ben, thank you for pointing that out. A lot of times, the image of me being a council president, which I'm always grateful for, but I'm also a father, a husband, and a son. I know many people know, I have elderly parents. I haven't seen them actually probably going on 2 weeks. I do speak to them. I have a son that that has an IEP, and a routine is very important for him, and he's out of that routine. I had a family member, my brother, tested positive. It's hard. It's hard. But that being said, I wear many hats, and you have to be there. I also have a law practice. I have a lot of clients that are calling me up about many issues. It's been trying times. It's been very stressful, and you try to be as helpful as possible and still be here for family at the same time. It's not easy. It's not a perfect formula.
Now, Mike, lots of us, and me included, we don't think that we are being told everything that it's going on. I think there is a lot of information that is not told to the people. How you feel? Is everything being told? Not just at the federal level, but also at the city level? Is our mayor, are you telling us everything that it's going on?
I relay everything, and Ben, pretty much a practice that I had is right early on in this epidemic and beforehand, I always try to relay everything that's given to my office. And most of the time I get the information. It's open source. It's open source information from either the federal government, the state government, or the county government, and we would share it. Recently, I was getting, and along with the council, so when I say you're the council involved, we were getting just daily numbers of how many positive cases. And I remember it was a little over a month ago, it started at 6 positive cases, and it jumped up. I think we're well over 2,000, and we already have deaths. And fortunately, I think those numbers are going to continue to go up in positive infections and in deaths. Maybe within the last couple of days, myself and with other council members, we asked, is there any other information that we could get? So a positive number, we put that out there. And Ben, I assume you've gotten the same numbers from the county executive and the daily updates, as they say. We said, how can we respect people's HIPAA privacy, but also put any relevant information out there? That way the general public can understand what's going on. So we were able to at least have a breakdown by zip code. Is it a perfect solution? No, it's not. But that's the information that was given to me. I do believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, you did have an interview yesterday with my colleague and friend, Councilwoman Tasha Diaz, and she went down the numbers of the different zip codes and where there was positive infections, by the Yonkers zip code. Any information that I've received about COVID, I put it out there.
Yes.
That being said, it's generally not a lot of information is being shared at the legislative branch.
But Mike, if the city is so concerned with our well-being of the citizens of Yonkers, wouldn't it be advantage to us to know where most infections are? So perhaps we can avoid certain places, certain things. I'm not saying that give us the addresses, the exact addresses or names. No one is asking for that. We are just asking, where are the deaths? Okay, Of course, at the same time, we understand where they are, because 10701, that's where the greatest number of infected people are. So if that's where the greatest number of infected people are, it's also the greatest number of deaths, I would think.
Correct. Ben, to be quite, again, we have to be pragmatic and we have to look at it. It's not a secret. Southwest Yonkers, that's where our density is. I believe it was 60% of our population live in that southwest northwest corridor. But make no mistake, I requested information, and because of agreements, between the city administration and county, or the city and the state, that information wasn't easily given to the legislative arm. Again, so I want to repeat, whatever information has been given to us, we've been able to share. I do wish that the zip code breakdown was given to us much easier, because I don't know, if a number by itself, it's hard to add context. So if we have 500 positive infections or 1,000 positive infections, what does that mean? So at least with a breakdown, it could give people an idea. And I like to think moving forward, I think that as we get information will be helpful. Based on those informations, as you know, Ben, I know that you've spoken to many of my colleagues already. We had an emergency meeting, and we tried introducing some measures to help mitigate, be it public spaces or apartment buildings. I think that the best way that we're going to beat this together, it's not by me, you, the mayor, my colleagues on the council, or actually the residents. They have to comply. They have to practice social distancing. And again, this morning, again, just reading overnight, I think it's working based on the data that's being given to the public.
Now, Mike, once in a while, we have to take some questions from the audience. We have a question there from Lorraine Lopez. Why are you not sending letters or robocalls to the areas that have clusters? Anyone can see where they are. What? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, one, again, I could share, the zip code list, where they are. Then I could easily, but I believe that
but that's not the question. That's not the question. The question is why aren't the
information? I don't have access to that admission. That would have to go to the administration.
So you have nothing to do with that.
It's unfortunate. It's not nothing to do. But again, there's protocol. There's a chain of command in every level of government. Every level of government, you have an executive, you have a legislative branch. You start at the federal government, you have Donald Trump, then you have Congress.
Oh boy, don't start with the Donald Trump.
No. Listen, he's the executive. I don't want to get into the he's the exec. He runs this country, and you have a legislative arm. Yeah. You see him on TV. At the state level, you have Governor Cuomo. You see him on TV. You don't see our Senate Majority Leader, Andrew Cousins. At the county level, you have County Executive George Latimer. You have a legislative arm. Yonkers is no different than anyone. We have an executive and we have a legislative arm. And I think certain information like this clearly is just not shared with the legislative arm of government.
Now, Mike, before we go actually very forward with this interview, let's not forget that today is Good Friday. And we want to wish everyone, happy and Good Friday.
Ben, as a Catholic, I remember growing up, where we would, it was a solemn day, a Catholic, the day Jesus was, crucified. But, I think that it's fitting. Also, 2 days ago, we started Passover. I think in another week and a half, the holy month of Ramadan is starting. We must not forget our faith. We must not forget how our internal beliefs. And I definitely think that who we are as people is being tested in this, unprecedented times, particularly in this generation. And it's important that we remember who we are, and we believe in faith and in family. And we're going to get through this together and stronger. And I'm sure there'll be lessons learned out of this. And that is a very good question that Lorraine Lopez did ask.
Hansa Coletti. She's asking, where can we see the list of the breakdown of the numbers? I know that you talking about it, Tasha spoke about it yesterday, but where can we actually go and see the breakdown of that list?
Yeah, Ben, I thought it was shared. If not, I could provide it to you.
Please.
Or yeah, I'll put it out there. But I thought actually, in all sincerity, I thought that list was already in the public domain.
It might be. I just don't know.
Okay.
So thanks to the City Council President. This comes from Leonardo DJ Santos Suazo. Hey, DJ, I'm getting to learn how to say your name. Santos Suazo. Jazz Radio.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what passed yesterday. A little bit more time to pay property taxes. Correct, Mike? Am I correct?
Yeah, that is correct. And before I try to have a practice of before when the legislative item is introduced, it's read on, I try to give a little brief description. That way the general public can understand what it is. And one of the most important things is your taxes still need to be paid. But I also recognize, myself included, family and friends included, that people are suffering economic hardship because of this. And we try to extend as far out as possible, giving people more time, to pay their county taxes. And hopefully if this is able to help anyone, we could say then that it was a successful measure.
Mike,
yes.
Question from Hector Santiago. Let me just put it up so you can see it. He's asking, how often is the cleaning truck going around Yonkers to kill the streets and bus stops? Now, I understand that you don't have all the answers. You are the council president, and what the council does is pass legislation. But you have more information that most of us have. And there is certain things here that affects you as a resident of Yonkers as well. So anything that you can give us, any information that you can give us is appreciated. Not that we expect you to give us an official answer on things that has nothing to do with you. So go ahead.
Yeah, earlier this week, Hector, thank you for that question. Earlier this week, I spoke to the commissioner of DPW, Commissioner Tom Meyer, and we were asking about, for example, I think something you may even report it on. We have this repurposed fire truck, and from what he represents, what he's telling me is that it's out there, and what we wanted to be able to do is use it even more. And that was one of the other resolutions that we had out there. The capability to disinfect or even try to clean high congested areas, that truck shouldn't be resting. It should, we're trying to make it around the clock as much as possible. And that's what the intent of yesterday's passage. Of course, there comes overtime issues and staffing issues and other stuff. So sometimes, a good intent, there's always other considerations to be out there. But the goal is to make it as much as possible and make it citywide, but particularly with a concentration on high density areas, particularly because this deadly virus is so easily transmitted.
Now, you see another user, Carol Murphy. Why is it that people in Yonkers are feeling that our elected officials are not telling us all the truth, that there is something that's been hidden?
That's, it's an interesting observation, Ben. I appear with no halo over my head, but, this is probably there's the breakdown in what makes a government. And it doesn't matter if I was your council president or we had 7 different matters. The faith in governance is put in by the people. And if the people, the electorate, the residents do not have faith in our city government, there's a breakdown. It's unfortunate, that there's that sentiment out there. I do believe that there were errors. There will be lessons learned from this, chaos, these tragedy, unforeseen times. But again, I try to operate in the realm, in the legislative arm, and all the information, we do try to put out there. So again, can you put the question back up? One more? There was something along the lines of why they don't.
The question was, from Carol Murphy. You as leaders need to let us know what is going on. I feel we are not being told the truth.
Okay, again, when I say I, referring to that, the information that's given to us, we generally try to put out there. The whole concept of, you're not being told the truth, that's unfortunate. That generally is unfortunate. And her sentiments are not unique. Again, I try to be responsive. I hear that, there's great disappointment. And I do think that, there's been deficiencies in this response, and there's been deficiencies that are systemic. But that being said, that, we're trying to make, a government run. Could things be better? Absolutely. And, after this, we should do an internal review on what can be done. God forbid this never happens again. But if it does come back, we have a more rapid response, a more effective response, and better communication.
Mike, from the beginning, from the start of this pandemic, people were asking, what's going on? How come we don't hear about any infected cases in Yonkers? We had infections everywhere but Yonkers. Public school was very reluctant to close down the schools. We kept asking, no cases, no cases, not known cases. And the question was, Yonkers is one of the biggest, if not the fourth biggest city in New York State. And you are telling us that there is no infection, no one has been infected. So from the start, they gave us an optical illusion that the truth were not being told, the total truth. And we wonder why.
Ben, and I want to respectfully refresh your memory to the last time we had this. I believe we met at it was a weekend, and we were at the Pinata Bar and Grill. I don't speak for the Board of Education, be it central office or the trustees, but I'm just going to remind you and the reviewers, before school was shut down, I kept my children home prior to.
Remember that.
Yeah, so what they do, why they do it, or the rationale for what they do, it's not shared. They're two separate lanes. We do fund the school system, but they operate in their own separate arena. I think that even the delay from one day, I just had a conversation from an attorney. I remember the first day when we had a press conference, and I think, Ben, you covered it, I believe. It was in early mid-March, where they were going to shut down school for one day, and then it extended to 2 days. Then it extended for a week, or then 2 weeks. And there's something in the middle. They call that mission creep, baby step, baby step, baby step. In a time right now, residents need a voice. Residents need a voice of credibility. Residents need to know that somebody's out there. So right now, and I could tell you everything written as I know it, but if there's no faith in what I say, what good is it? And I think that the way you build trust and credibility are by actions. Generally speaking, my personal opinion, as a parent, remember we said I wear many hats. I think that the school should have been shut down sooner. Sure, there was some budgetary concerns. There was a lot of other collateral issues that needed to be rectified before you do that. So it wasn't just like a light switch, Ben, where, okay, we're shutting down. There was a lot of logistical issues that needed to be worked out. And some of these issues aren't, it takes time.
Question from Julie Marie.
Okay.
What about schools? Do you see the schools opening before September?
Do I see schools? Okay, I do. Okay, Ben, the all official information I have is what you have. I think April 29th, which is what came down. But again, reading between tea leaves and just looking at what's going on, I don't see how in good faith, somebody in good conscience could go, April is done. Even though we're on a decline, maybe we're peaking or going down, I don't see how we could in good faith open up schools. Again, this is on the data that we have right now. The situation is so fluid. It changes daily, Ben. changes daily. But going on right now with the information that I have, that's out there in the public. So don't think I get private briefings by Governor Cuomo or anything along those lines. But I'm also a realist, and I'm also a parent. I don't see how I could send my children to school, in May while this is pending.
Now, let me just put a statement from Lorraine Lopez.
Sure.
Council President and the rest of the City Council are doing the best they can with this unprecedented situation. Now, with that statement, I would like to ask you, what have we learned from this unprecedented situation? What have we learned?
Okay. Well, right now, we're still learning. So that lesson learned. Yeah, it's still in process. For number one, and the buck stops with me, Ben. I remember on March 23rd, which was a Monday, I actually postponed a Yonkers City Council meeting. And it was the balance of, again, transparency and accountability, but we weren't set up for what we're doing right now. Right now we're using the Be Live platform, but the city of Yonkers has the WebEx platform. Same concept, video teleconferencing. Took us a little time to get up. And if that was up and running, there would be no reason to have postponed that meeting. So what I'm personally going to do, in my office as the council president, and the rest of the city and the rest of the city council, because again, city government and department heads don't answer to me, is we're going to make sure that there is a continuity of the legislative arm. I did see, again, going on my office and working with my chief of staff, we started pulling back and doing telestaff early on, just because, again, seeing the indicators and was reaching to Europe. And I knew once it was in Europe and in Italy, that it was only a matter of time before it becomes, it gets to JFK Airport and it happens. So there are, said it earlier, there will be lessons learned. There are some that goes on now, and they'll be implemented. But I generally think that there has to be a systemic check. We have to look inward to see how can we make this better. And more importantly, despite what Lorraine just said a little while ago, we're trying our best. We have to build that credibility, and the residents need to have faith in their city government, and particularly in their city council, based on our resources and what we're able to do. So I do think that if you ask me in a few months, once we get this, what are the lessons learned, I'll be able to give you more. We have to look, we have to look at the Office of Emergency Management. We have to look at our auxiliary police. We have to look at our first responders. You mentioned something about the Board of Education. So there, every department has to look within to see what could we have done better. And if anyone says that we've done our best, I'm not convinced that we did that. We're going to have to make this better. There were shortcomings, and those shortcomings were systemic, but we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Now, Mike, with everything that's going on, only essential workers should be on the street going to work. That means that there is a large amount of people at home now. Okay, stay home, don't spread it, saves lives. So with staying home, that means our cars have to be parked on the streets of Yonkers. Not everyone lives in Seminar Avenue. Not everyone lives on the east side of Yonkers. The 10701 is where large numbers of people live. In these areas, there are meters. There is ticketing going on constantly at the meters. Shouldn't the city have suspended the meters, ticketing fines, in a particular time frame to allow the residents to park? Yesterday, overnight, there was a petition that started, and it has already about over 60 signatures asking the city to suspend the meters. How do you feel about that?
I generally feel that in this time, the meters should be suspended. I know that, I did have conversations with the administration. I also believe Councilwoman Williams also had conversations with the administration. It's a balance of, at one time, saying, Ben, stay home, practice social distancing, don't go out there. And this is not discretionary. It's literally ordered by executive order from the government. But also, these tickets are costly, and you shouldn't be punished. You're being punished by your paycheck or being laid off or businesses closing down, and now you shouldn't be punished by getting a ticket if you're unable to feed the meters. I do know that working with the administration, they suspended alternate side of the street parking, to give some relief. But ultimately, I'll be talking to my colleagues on the council. I'll be revisiting this issue with the mayor again to see what type of relief that we can give, either through the mayor with the absolute authority of executive authority, or perhaps I'll discuss it with the council through legislative recourse. But generally speaking, this is not the time to punish, particularly, Ben, when, now, if you're out, and I'm using it because I'm looking at, if you're out shopping and you're doing something, it's one thing. But if you're home and you're sheltering in place and you're following these quarantine, and you miss your meter by 10, 15 minutes, you shouldn't get, some of these tickets are very expensive. You mentioned, St. John's Avenue or stuff. Many homes in that area have driveways, or garages where I don't believe there are meters. Maybe by the seminary closer to Yonkers Avenue, there might be some meters, but I believe as you go into certain areas, there are no meters. The meters are, there are apartment buildings and some residential areas where there are meters. And I think that something needs, this matter needs to be addressed either through executive action or discussing it with I already have some ideas I'm working on. And I think that this should be a unified effort between the executive branch and the legislative branch.
Somebody asked me to ask you this. Would you sign the petition to suspend? You just told us that you disagree with ticketing. Would you sign that petition?
Yes.
You would. Now, we spoke with one of your colleagues yesterday, Mr. John Robo, councilman.
Yeah. Yes.
And we asked him the exact same question. And his justification for the ticketing is because they want to prevent people from parking too long, because where those meters are, that are businesses like delis, so they want people just to go park, get whatever they need to get, and leave. They don't want cars parked there that will prevent people from going to those businesses. That really, honestly, didn't make much sense to me. Does it make any sense to you?
Again, I don't know what's in Councilman Rubo's mind.
Listen,
I'm not his keeper.
No one is asking you that, Mike.
But Ben, people should stay home, and they shouldn't be punished for getting a ticket while they're home.
But that's not what I ask you.
I'm sorry. I forget. I'm sorry. I forgive me then. Okay, here we go. Bring it. Bring it.
That's not what I ask you. I ask, do you agree with the justification that he gave? Not that people should stay home. We all got that. Okay.
What was his? I'm not sure I even understood the rationale. Say it again.
The rationale was the places where those meters are. It's the same places where most businesses are. So they don't want people to park the cars in order to prevent other people from going to those stores. Because, like, if I go and there is cars parked there overnight,
Understood.
I cannot park, and I'm not going to go to those businesses.
Understood. Okay. And the general, I'm going to say pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, pre-quarantine, that mindset does make sense. You don't want people to hog parking. But parking is parking is a premium in the city of Yonkers. I don't care where you are in the city of Yonkers. Parking is very tight. So in the general mindset, if there was no crisis, yes, I do understand that mindset. You want to keep the parking spaces rotated and keep them fresh. You don't want people hogging them up. However, we're not in the general sense. We're in a unique and unprecedented crisis where I don't think that rationale even applies. So, no, if somebody's really out for 2-3 hours visiting several stores, I mean, if you're not going to, my humble, respectful opinion is, if you're not visiting a doctor or getting groceries, stay home. Visiting several stores or not, stores are closed. Generally speaking, as far as I know, most, other than grocery or medical, most businesses are closed. I know certain restaurants are doing takeout or stuff. So no, I'm not convinced on that rationale during these current economic times, but we're all entitled to our opinion.
Exactly. So you're not in favor of the meters. Shanae is not in favor of those meters. We need to talk to the other councilmen. But we understand that this is a decision that is made by the mayor. He has the executive decision on this. But perhaps you guys can speak with him and say, look, for the better of our citizens, we need to change this. We need to suspend this.
Ben, and I agree. I speak to the mayor, if not every day, every other day. We're scheduled to talk. We spoke yesterday, and we'll be talking, if not today, tomorrow. He has been very accommodating. I do want to note that the taxes. We passed 4 important pieces of COVID legislation. And it's important. The mayor was very supportive of those, and I'm not here to be his mouthpiece. The mayor's articulate. He's able to talk. He has a great communication staff. But, he has been accommodating. And when I speak to him about rationale, how can we make this work? He has been very helpful. So that's important to put out there. He is sympathetic. And again, I'm not going to talk, but it's important that we put that out there. Be it, disinfecting parks, using that repurposed trucks, particularly working, closely with him and his law department and the commissioner of finance for delaying the tax payments. He has been very helpful, and he's availed himself to all ideas and suggestions. So I think that's important to put out there.
Now, Mike, did
Yes.
you hear anything about the N95 masks that were donated to St. John's?
Did I hear any? That I know. I mean, again, the last couple of weeks, Yonkers, without a surprise, had banded together. I know there's been several donations of food and supplies. I've helped with some organizing and stuff but I don't know which one you're particularly referring to. It doesn't surprise me. Yonkers is an amazing city. We have great businesses. We have great residents, and they're all chipping in.
No, I know that. But the reason why I asked you was we got information that a large amount of masks were donated to St. John's, but not as many to St. Joseph's. And I was going to ask you if you knew why. How did they decide how many masks go to this hospital versus another hospital, knowing that St. Joseph's is part of 10701, where most people have been affected?
Yeah, Ben, you're gonna have to. I'm not familiar with who donated those masks, and I wasn't part of that decision-making process. But that being said, Ben, I'm working now. Earlier this week, it was on News 12. The nurses at St. Joseph's Hospital were literally on South Broadway pleading for help and extra supplies. Next week, on Thursday, I'm working on procuring at least 300 masks and personal hand sanitizer for the nurses at St. Joseph's Hospital. And, and to go back to your question, why did I choose that hospital? Because that's the hospital that's in need. I can't answer what the decision process is on St. John's. That being said, I'm glad they were given to a Yonkers hospital because that hospital is helping Yonkers residents.
Now, Mike, it seems like lots of folks in Yonkers are not taking this as serious as they should. Supermarkets not long ago, maybe 2 or 3 days ago, were full of people. Parks, lots of people in the parks. Gary Square by the subway, not subway, I apologize, Dunkin' Donuts, lots of folks in there. There is police going around and around. I know that police are doing all that they can, but it seems like we still have a lot of people. There is a church on South Broadway. that continues to congregate, even though they have now a curtain on the wall to prevent people from looking inside. Shouldn't the city be fighting these a little bit more intense and prevent, congregations of people in one place?
Okay, Ben, please forgive me. I got distracted. You told me not to. I'm looking at some of the questions. So your question is about congregation and violation of the social distancing?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. All right, Ben, I reckon, and I received calls about parties. I received calls about just exactly what you said. And not just in Getty Square, on South Broadway, off South Broadway. I had a conversation with the mayor and his executive team. And again, we didn't want to punish people, but we needed to send a message that, hey, this is not a joke. This is not a time to hang out. I even think I always try to be soft and delicate with my words. But I said a few weeks ago, this is not a spring break. This is not a time for vacation. This is not a time to chill. I did, the mayor assured me that the police department will be enforcing the social distancing laws. And to be quite frank, I actually drafted legislation already written down, ready to go, to issue civil fines. And again, Ben, you don't want to hurt anyone in their pocket, particularly during these difficult times. You never want to, I want to help keep money in our residents' pockets, but also it's also their responsibility also. We all have, if you don't care about yourself, then worry about the people around you.
Well,
when it says about social distancing, there's also social responsibility.
Correct.
Here's what I was told, and I know I've done it. Call the police non-emergency number, 377-7900. You don't need to give your name. Just say, hey, listen. There's a bunch of people, hanging out. Try to give a landmark or a store or whatever it is, and you put it out there. You mentioned ShopRite on
Riverdale.
Riverdale Avenue. And it depends on who you ask or when you visit. Sometimes social distancing is being applied, and sometimes it's not. If we have to create, and let me start with this, I never want to punish business. Never. If anything, I try to advocate for businesses. However, the way we want residents to be responsible, businesses, I don't care if you're a bodega or if you're a national supermarket, you also have to be responsible. If they're not, find them, shut them down, because if they're here to serve the community, they also have to help the community and help protect. It's a team effort, Ben. It's a team effort. We have the legislative arm, we have enforcement arm, but we need residents and any supermarket, also hold up their part. If anyone feels that it's not in compliance, call up the police, the 377-7900 number, and bring it, and bring it to their attention. If it's chronic abuse, unfortunately, I will introduce legislation to, for civil fines. Again, the goal is not to fine people, but also people have to take it, responsible. This is not the time to chill and hang out.
Well, Mike, people should be fined. Okay. And you shouldn't be very concerned that you don't want to hurt people financially in a time like this. Because in this case, hanging around in the park, people have options. They can just go home and they will not be fined. Stores can, execute that social distancing by not allowing too many people in the store. So they should be fined. We don't need to get people infected and then to take action. I believe in proaction, preventive instead of reaction.
Ben, I agree with you. Again, I'm not looking for sympathy or stuff. There's a term I learned when I worked with the federal government, and it was called drinking out of a fire hose. What we're going through right now is so fluid. It's so fast changing that, for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, I was concentrating on the legislation we did yesterday. And now, doesn't mean that, I put a feather in my hat and move on. We have to go somewhere else. And if it's this enforcement issue, we're going to work on it, But generally speaking, the best way to stop it, people just listen. Social distancing, social responsibility. We can beat this together. We just need, you need the city to hold up their part, and we need the residents to hold up their part. But again, I think we're on the same page, and I do agree. And if I don't see or hear of any changes, I will, without reservation, introduce, a civil fines to residents or businesses that are not complying with, Governor Cuomo's executive order. It should be noted earlier this week. I believe his original fines were $500. I think even him on his own, he recognized residents, not just in Yonkers, all over the state, were not violating, and he increased the fines, I believe, to $1,000. So again, a lot of our issues are not unique to Yonkers. Yonkers is not the exception. Yonkers is, we're just like everyone else. We're going through this together, and we're going through a lot of these issues, and we're going to figure it out. It's not a perfect science. It's not a perfect plan, but, there's trial and error. But as long as we remain committed to working together and coming out of this stronger and better and learning from mistakes, we're going to come out of this better.
Well, we have Lorraine Lopez.
Hey, Lorraine.
Kudos to Mayor Spano for everything that he has done. Now, Mike, is there anything that comes to your mind that perhaps you want to bring it up?
Well, yeah, and it says about Mayor Spano. He actually, I don't have the exact details yet. That's, again, just working on so many things. As many people know, the federal government passed this $2 trillion stimulus plan to help people. His planning department, they're creating some kind of office satellite to help people with any questions. Ben, what my office will be doing, I'm working on something perhaps next week where I'm going to have an attorney and an accountant answer questions, particularly for small businesses and residents that have been laid off. There's a lot of programs and benefits out there, and many people don't know what they're qualified for. You have nonprofits that actually qualify for certain relief, small businesses that rely for a small relief, subcontractors, anyone in the construction industry, subcontractors are eligible, even independent contractors that get 1199s. So there's a lot of relief out there. I just don't think that people are aware or may not be aware of what's available. So what I'm working on, along with what the mayor is doing with the planning, is we're going to have a question and answer. And Ben, I would love it if you air it and we could work together. That way the message gets out there to as many people as possible.
Now, Mike, one thing that I haven't heard much from the City Hall elected officials is about our homeless population. Yes, you guys answer the question when the question is asked, but what about coming forward and say, look, we realize there is a problem, and this is what we intend to do, because the answers are really not satisfactory. Homeless people, they cannot stay home. They don't have a home to stay.
Okay. I was actually on the phone yesterday with County Executive George Latimer's staff, and we're trying, the answer of it's a county problem is unacceptable. And I think when somebody tells you it's a county problem, it further just shows to me how out of touch they are with the situation. The county is responsible for funding and providing certain services, but the homeless population, who are some of the most vulnerable in our community, cannot be ignored, and they're in our city. So the fact that they're in our city, it becomes our problem. I spoke to a resident that because the library and certain restaurants are closed, they have no place to use the bathroom. So I'm trying to work with the county executives team. This is one of the issues that are on my list to discuss with the mayor. What can we do for the homeless population? So again, Ben, some of these issues are very complicated, where the question might be simple, but and right now, I just honestly, I don't have an answer right now.
Maybe I posed the question in the wrong way. I wasn't talking about the issue with the homeless situation. I was talking about in the context of the COVID-19. They're out there unprotected. They can be contaminated and spread the virus in the shelters. in turn, they will, infect other people. If they are in the stores, if they are in supermarkets, other people might get infected. And regardless if it's the county issue or not, they are in Yonkers.
Correct. And I think that's exactly what I just said, and we have to deal with it. We can't put our head in the sand and say it's not our problem. It exactly is. And I've learned always that when you identify a problem, be prepared to discuss solutions. Be prepared to discuss ideas. Talking about, I mean, everyone right now, whoever's listening to this, everyone could shoot out a problem. We all have them.
But that's why we're here, Mike. That's why we're here. You see, once upon a time, a friend of mine told me, we were talking about Yonkers Voice and said, Rue, Yonkers Voice shouldn't be a place just to talk about problems. We should be also talking about solutions. Do you remember that person? I think you were present.
Yes.
But we elected a group of people to represent us and to find solutions for the problems that we have, okay? And you are one of them. And your colleagues and the mayor, we didn't vote you there just to look handsome, to have great speeches, good photo opportunities, cut rainbows. No, you were elected to solve those problems. That's what we expect you to do. We all know what the problems are. We don't have the solutions, but we voted you to find those solutions.
Yeah. One thing that I'm working on, we're trying to see is I got a call. I had a meeting yesterday with somebody, from a community member. I'm actually looking at something like maybe porta potties. I was told that some of the homeless are literally, defecating in the street because they have nowhere to go.
Exactly.
And something, so perhaps we could have temporary porta potties in certain locations. It's exploring. We're exploring. At least I am. And once I have a viable plan, I'll be discussing it with my colleagues. I'll be discussing it with the administration. It takes a team. It takes a team, Ben. To solve some of these very complicated problems. But I'm always ready, willing, and able to hear suggestions and even modify ideas to make sure and see how we can make it work.
See, Mike, I don't know how things look from your side, but let me tell you.
I see you perfectly.
Good. But let me tell you how things look from our side. We see the administration, including all the council member, mayor's office, as part of one team. That team is supposed to work in the best interest of the people of Yonkers. But sometimes it appears that your team, the administration, the council people, that you are an internal team playing against each other, that you are not all working towards the same goal. Is that...
You know what? I can't, again, no, you know what? Let me start off with the council. I generally don't, and again, unfortunately, if that's the perception, that's maybe something we need to, work on, Ben. But I have worked very closely with Councilwoman Shanae Williams of the 1st District and Councilwoman Tasha Diaz of the 3rd District. We literally speak, about ideas and what we can do. And, the entire council is working together. As you could see yesterday, those ideas that, we called an emergency meeting, and they were all supported on both sides of the aisle. So I generally feel that, the council is working together. And it's unfortunate if that's the perception out there. And maybe, certain council members or if something that certainly I could do, please do. I know when I try to introduce legislation, I try to, have people sponsor it where, it's unified. If that's the perception, it's unfortunate. If certain people want to do their own thing, again, I can't control them, but I'm always ready and willing and able to work with my colleagues on the council. And that's action, not words. You could see by those 4 items that happened yesterday.
Mike, just look at the parking issue, small issue, but you say one thing, another one says something else, the other one says something else, and none of that is beneficial to the people of Yonkers. People of Yonkers now are asking for a little bit of a leniency in regards to the meters. We have no place to park the car, but that's we already discussed it.
No, you're right. But Ben, you have to understand something. The 7 council members, myself included, we come from different backgrounds, different experiences. They serve different areas. I have a unique position I'm the council president, but I serve citywide. So, my priorities, my issues, my views might be a little different than the other 6 members or stuff. And that's important, to point out.
I understand. What about the CSEEC, the school with Mr. Turner? What's that union? The
CSEA. You're talking about CSEA, yes.
What's going on with them? Because you are a parent, your kid goes to school. Some people are forced to go to work maybe once or twice a week. Now I hear that they have for them to get paid, they have to volunteer or work for the cleaning, helping the firefighters' homes or the babysitting. Have you heard anything about that?
No, I haven't heard that. I did have a conversation with the administration, and my question was, Frank, do the CSE, well, one, schools are closed, but I do recognize there's some certain CSEA members who are on the front lines. And my question was, wait, can we confirm that the members that are working, do have equipment or stuff along those lines? And what was represented to me was that they do, no union official. I try to avail myself to all labor, no union official has contacted me, directly, about any issue. Lionel is a great friend. We met through my campaign, and I keep in contact for him. And I feel bad for his members. His members most of them are Yonkers residents, and usually they're in the front line. And whenever there's any issue of layoffs or cuts or no payment, his members are the first to feel the suffering. And we can't do that. We want. A lot of his members from CSEA, they hold very important jobs. His members take care of my children. His members, take care of, other children, city's children. So it's important that they feel that their work and their commitment is acknowledged and respected. And if the Board of Education is demeaning or minimizing, the valuable work that CSEA does in their members, be it if it's a school aide or if they're a custodian or the many hats, the many responsibilities that the mayor had, it's wrong. It's wrong. And I do hope that when the Board of Education makes these decisions, they take into consideration who these members are and how these economic decisions affect them. It's wrong that they're on the front lines and they're being minimized. Yeah. If that's what's happening, it's wrong if they're being put in harm's way. It's wrong. Their life and their human dignity is no less than mine or yours.
I agree. Leonardo DJ Santos Suazo, we need more testing sites so that people aren't symptomatic walking around infecting others. Why do we only have one site in Yonkers since we are the 4th largest city in New York State?
Okay, the testing sites are not a city decision, and again, I hope DJ Lenny, thank you for that question. And again, I hope you were listening in to the meeting we had yesterday. This epicenter in Westchester County started in New Rochelle. And I believe on Glen Island Park, the county park, that's where the driving center was. New Rochelle has been able to get some form of control under their situation, and now Yonkers is spreading. We need to bring attention to Governor Cuomo to switch that, because that's a state decision to bring it here. There are plenty of locations in the city of Yonkers, and in every quadrant of the city, there are plenty of locations to have a testing site. There are certain things that come from Albany, and what we can do as a city council is we're not going to just send an email or make a Facebook post. We're going to send a formal resolution, a unified formal resolution. Yonkers is in trouble and you need to give us attention. Not at one time in any news briefing or any stuff. They talk about Westchester County. They talk about New Rochelle. What about Yonkers? We have over as we speak right now, people are on ventilators. People we know. I have family members, that are going through this. And we have to do what we can. And we sent out a letter that was a great idea from Councilwoman Diaz. It's a great from Councilwoman Diaz. It's okay, Daddy. It's okay. 1 second, Ben. This is my son. Okay, all right. You want to go? Okay, no problem. It's okay, Daddy. So that's my son, John Paul. He wasn't, he looked a little confused. He's looking for a snack. Just going back, we're trying. We put a formal written request by a letter to Governor Cuomo for frontline workers that are suffering through, or gave up their life for this COVID. And right now, we have, police and fire department that got infected because of this COVID. So Ben, I know I'm going on, but it's I wish it was just easy where I could call up the governor's office and say, oh, it's county. They don't want to hear from me. So what we have to do is document our writing, put pressure on there through letters and through resolutions, show that unified front that you made reference to.
Well, Mike, I don't think these questions are made in a way that we expect things from you. I think we are talking to you because, yes, you are the council president, but you are also a resident of Yonkers with the same concerns as most of us have. So we're trying to pick up your brain and to see how you see these and how you see that, not that there is an expectation of you changing anything. Because I think all of us are bright enough to understand that there is some decisions that come a little bit above you from the state level, from the federal level, but nevertheless, you have an opinion about those things. Like I have an opinion about everything, but
I have opinion. It was concerning where when New Rochelle came in, and you look at who lives in New Rochelle and how they handled it and the attention it gave, and it needed it. It needed it. But you know what? Thank God, because of rapid response and effective advocacy and the containment zone and all these measures, it worked. We need that in Yonkers. We need that in Yonkers, plain and simple. But there's no black and white. We need it. The numbers don't lie.
Now, did you heard about a death of somebody who worked for the Board of Education?
Ben,
I know you cannot confirm, but have you heard anything about it?
Ben, I've heard this past week, many people have passed away. Off the top of my head, no, I haven't. I remember in the early week, they're saying that this is going to be one of the worst weeks. They compared it to 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. So, tell me that, somebody from the Board of Education, lost their life, or we have a Yonkers police, we have somebody on a ventilator, somebody that I know.
Yes.
This is bad. Our friends, our neighbors, our first responders, our teachers' aides, people we pray with, people we eat with, people we drink with are suffering. But I'm confident we're going to come out of this together and better. And what I'm also concerned about are the secondary actions of mental health, the anxiety, the issues with children who are not getting the services that they need, the rise in domestic violence, the mental health consequences of this pandemic. This is something that we're going to have to work out together. We got to remember from the past and fix those errors, but continue to advance the ball and try to help our residents, because this is, I got news for you. Eventually, we're going to be allowed out of our house. That small business, that bodega, that restaurant, eventually they're going to turn on their lights again. But what are the emotional and the mental health scars and the trauma that this has caused our residents, and particularly the lack of faith that many of the residents have lost? So we have our work to do. And, there's that. We got to roll up our sleeves. Together, we're going to roll up our sleeves and get through this. And we're going to try to implement what we can. But it's not a one-man team or a one-woman team. It got to be all stakeholders, be it from the city, from the Board of Education, from the nonprofit sector, and most importantly, the residents that are going to work together to solve some of these issues.
Now, some folks are saying that Mayor's panel should give a daily update about what's going on. Do you agree or disagree? I kind of tend to disagree because there is no need. We have daily updates from the state level. Do we actually need a daily update from the city level?
Here's what if there's information to be shared, it should be shared. A daily update. Obviously, I think everyone has gotten to see, Governor Cuomo's, daily briefs, because he's taken charge of this and has made executive decisions. There is a reason for, daily briefings. From the information I have, I don't necessarily see a need for daily briefings. But I do feel if there's any information to be shared, it should be shared. I believe yesterday he sent out a robo call, and I do believe that I think he appeared, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, a couple of times, on your show, during the course of this. So, I'm gonna say, based on what I know, I do believe that whenever there was information to share, he did share it. If the information to share is on a daily needed, then it's fine.
Then it's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Share it when there is something to share. Don't come on TV just to tell us, oh, now we have 2001, tomorrow 2003. If there is information.
And Ben, this is where, in hyper political times where, let's just say tomorrow, or in 2 days from now, 3 days from now, I come on your show, and let's say I'm not adding anything new. You get criticized. Oh, what is he doing? Then if you don't show up, oh, he doesn't care. We live in such partisan times where there's so much cynicism, and particularly there's a lack of faith in city government where, as I'm saying, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So I just think that, each resident should just judge each elected official by their actions.
Well, Samir, yes, martial arts schools are taking a big hit because it's very difficult to maintain a social distance while practicing contact sport, soccer, martial arts, gymnastics, anything.
Hey, listen, the animals, big shout out to the animals on Tuckahoe Road. It's a great sport. It's great for health, great for self-defense. But unfortunately, this is, again, another small business, that has suffered. I don't care if you're, again, and I said, if you're a bodega, if you're in the law practice, everyone has suffered. Ben, you see, I have a busy law practice on Yonkers Avenue, which, I do a lot of civil. And just on a drop of a dime, it was pause, literally, no pun intended. It just stopped. Courts, the only thing that courts are handling right now are emergency applications. So I give this example in that this is unprecedented. In generations to come, they're going to read about this pandemic, of 2020, the way we read about the bubonic plague or the Spanish flu.
Yes, even me at Yonkers Voice, we felt the impact financially because we advertise for a lot of restaurants and they put that on pause. No one is coming to a restaurant nowadays, so stop the advertising.
But Ben, even somebody like you qualify through your platform as Yonkers Voice of some of the stimulus package. Never mind as an individual, as Ben, through your. Hey, Dad, what's up? Say hello. This is my son, Marone.
Hey, little one.
Yeah, how you doing, Dad? You all right? Yeah, you did your Zern? Yeah, we're doing the Zoom. He wants to say something.
I just want to say thank you to all the heroes out there.
Say that again? Oh, wow.
I just want to say thank you to all the heroes out there.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Dad.
To all the heroes. Mike, is that a future politician?
You know what? I gotta say, I gotta say something, Ben. Marone is my middle child. He knows how to work the system between my wife and I to get what he wants. But this is my mini me. I'm proud of him. and I'm glad he's been keeping up with his homework. You find a newfound appreciation for what teachers do. I actually experienced what Common Core is firsthand, trying to understand it. I think people are going to come out of this with finer appreciation for first responders, for hospital staff, for the great work that teachers actually do, for the support staff. This is a time to reflect. Thank you, Daddy. We're in a crisis mode, but there are silver linings that are going to come out of this. I'm confident of that.
Mike, we've been on this interview for 1 hour.
Oh, wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Sooner or later, we had to come to a conclusion. I'm going to give you the last word, please.
Yeah. Everyone, it's disheartening that, a lot of residents have lost faith in city government. But just always know, we're going to build that faith back. We're going to build that credibility back. And for anyone who's coming in and out, have there been some deficiencies? Absolutely. Some of them come to the doorstep of our city council meetings. But, again, if we work together and we look at it in a positive way, what lessons learned and how as a great city that we have, how we're going to come out of this and how we could avoid these mistakes again, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. I know somebody does, I know people that are suffering now, they don't want to hear that. And I empathize with them, particularly, as the holiday season comes in, you have loved ones in the hospital, you can't even go visit them. It's hard. It bothers me. It really does. Not as the city council president, but as a husband, a father, a brother. I think, Ben, I told you that my brother contacted it. I went a couple of days where I couldn't even speak to him because the symptoms were so bad. I have my elderly parents, I'm used to going to them have a cup of coffee in the morning before, my day starts. I haven't been able to see them in a couple of weeks. I speak to them, every other day, make sure they're okay. So it's hard, it's hard, but, I'm not here to defend the elected officials in the city of Yonkers, but we have lives, we have family, we have other responsibilities. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that. Like you said, you elected me to help you. You elected the 6 other council members. You elected the mayor, to help. And I ain't good. They're trying. Everyone tries in different ways. Everyone has different values. But we're going to get through this. We're going to learn from this. And we're going to be a better and stronger city once all this is over.
Any words for those kids that continue to go to the park to play basketball and football and soccer or whatever?
Just cut it out. Right now is not the time. And I said, and I was a little, admonished by, my snarky post. I did a couple. This is not spring break. This is not spring break. This is not a vacation. This is not a time to chill. Literally, if you're not going to the pharmacy, if you're not going to the doctor, or if you're not, listen, it's just not the time. The more we comply, the sooner this is over. And here's something else, Ben. As the numbers decrease in deaths and in positive confirmations, it's important that we don't get off the gas. We got to continue to stay off, because what I fear is that we get a week of good numbers of it going down. We let up, and then we start going back to our normal daily lives, and the number shoots right back up. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process.
On that note, Mike, we conclude this interview. Thank you. And don't forget, anytime you want to talk to us, anytime you have something to say, reach out and touch someone. Don't touch no one.
Ben, absolutely. Thank you so much. And my office remains open for everyone. Thank you, Ben. God bless.
Have
a happy Easter and a happy Passover to all those that are celebrating.
One thing.
Yes.
If you need to contact you, we still can call your number, meaning the council president's number, right?
Yeah, allow me to give that. So, yeah, but Ben, actually, this is important. Again, everything's important. The main number for my office is 377-6060. Please call that number. There's also the mayor's helpline, 377-HELP. And also, email council president, one word, council president @yonkersny.gov. The worst way to reach out is if you send me a message on Messenger and stuff. Sometimes it'll fall through the queue and we won't get to it. Call us or email us. You get a faster response.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. God bless. Stay safe.
Me too.
Thank you for your time.
Bye-bye.